The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the Master and Vijay Goswami. A Vaishnava Goswami was seated in the room. The Master said to him, "Well, what do you say? What is the way?" Goswami: "Sir, the chanting of God's name is enough. The scriptures emphasize the sanctity of God's name for the Kali Yuga." Master: "Yes, there is no doubt about the sanctity of God's name. But can a mere name achieve anything? Without the yearning of the devotee behind it, one should feel great restlessness of soul for the vision of God. Suppose a man repeats God's name mechanically while his mind is absorbed in woman and gold. Can he achieve anything? Suppose a man becomes pure by chanting God's holy name, but immediately afterwards commits many sins. He has no strength of mind. He doesn't take a vow not to repeat his sins. A bath in the Ganges undoubtedly absolves one of all sins. But what does that avail? They say that the sins perch on the trees along the banks of the Ganges. No sooner does the man come back from the holy waters than the old sins jump on his shoulders from the trees. All laugh. The same old sins take possession of him again. He is wholly out of the water before they fall upon. Therefore I say, chant God's name and with it pray to Him that you may have love for Him. Pray to God that your attachment to such transitory things as wealth, name and creature comforts may become less and less every day." To the Goswami: with sincerity and earnestness one can realize God through all religions. The Vaishnavas will realize God, so will the Saktas, the Vedantists and the Brahmos. The Muslims and Christians will realize Him too. All will certainly realize God if they are earnest and sincere. Some people indulge in quarrels, saying one cannot attain anything unless one worships our Krishna, or nothing can be gained without the worship of Kali, our divine mother, or one cannot be saved without accepting the Christian religion. This is pure dogmatism. The dogmatist says, "My religion alone is true and the religions of others are false." This is a bad attitude. God can be reached by different paths. Further, some say that God has form and is not formless. Thus they start quarreling. A Vaishnava quarrels with a Vedantist. One can rightly speak of God only after one has seen Him. He who has seen God knows really and truly that God has form and that He is formless as well. He has many other aspects that cannot be described too. Once some blind men chanced to come near an animal that someone told them was an elephant. They were asked what the elephant was like. The blind man began to feel its body. One of them said the elephant was like a pillar. He had touched only its leg. Another said it was like a winnowing fan. He had touched only its ear. In this way, the others, having touched its tail or belly, gave their different versions of the elephants. Just so, a man who has seen only one aspect of God limits God to that alone. It is his conviction that God cannot be anything else. To the Goswami: how can you say that the only truth about God is that He has form? It is undoubtedly true that God comes down to earth in a human form, as in the case of Krishna. And it is true as well that God reveals Himself to His devotees in various forms. But it is also true that God is formless. He is the indivisible existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. He has been described in the Vedas both as formless and as endowed with form. He is also described there both as attributeless and as endowed with attributes. Kedar. It is said in the Bhagavata that Vyasa asked God's forgiveness for his 3 transgressions. He said, O Lord, thou art formless, but I have thought of thee in my meditation as endowed with form. Thou art beyond speech, but I have sung hymns to thee. Thou art the all-pervading spirit, but I have made pilgrimages to sacred places. Be gracious, O Lord, and forgive these 3 transgressions of mine. Master. Yes, God has form and he is formless too. Further, he is beyond both form and formlessness. No one can limit him. Later in the afternoon, the devotees sang in the Panchavati where the master joined them. It was a very happy day for all. About 6 o'clock in the evening, the master was sitting with the devotees on the southeast veranda of his room. Master. A holy man who has renounced the world will of course chant God's name. This is only natural. He has no other duties to perform. If he meditates on God, it shouldn't surprise anybody. On the other hand, if he fails to think of God or chant his holy name, then people will think ill of him. But it is a great deal to his credit if a householder utters the Lord's name. Think of King Janaka, what courage he had indeed. He fenced with 2 swords, the one of knowledge and the other of work. He possessed the perfect knowledge of Brahman and also was devoted to his royal duties. An unchaste woman attends to his minutest duties of the world, but her mind always dwells on her paramour. The constant company of holy men is necessary. They introduce one to God. The constant company of holy men is necessary. They introduce one to God. The devotees were ready to return home one by one. They saluted the master. At the sight of Bhavanath, Sri Ramakrishna said, Don't go away today. The very sight of you inspires me. Bhavanath had not yet entered into worldly life. A youth of 20, he had a fair complexion and handsome features. He shed tears of joy on hearing God's name. The master looked on him as the embodiment of Narayana. Om Purnamada Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avadhara varisthaya sarvadevata swarupaya mama dhinantihi.